So we thank you guys for taking the time to come out here tonight for this very important event. I see a lot of familiar, friendly faces, people that I know, people that are here for various reasons, right? The sad part of this is that as we look at each other, some of you have been affected by domestic violence, by sexual assault, by childhood abuse, catcalls, touching without consent. And so I know that sometimes people come here and they have never used their voice to talk about that. And I'm not going to ask you to do that if you're not ready. However, 2, 3, or 4 people away from you is someone that has experienced these things. And so I want to be one that says, me too. If you are willing and you're ready to take that step, join me on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Me too. And so that voice is what we're heralding tonight. So our theme tonight is shatter the violence, stop the silence. Shatter the silence, stop the violence. So let's see if we can say that together. Shatter the silence, stop the violence. Now, we're going to get you warmed up for our first speaker. So this is not just about a speech, okay? This is a rally, people. We are here to take our voices and say no more. No more. And so what I would like you to do is we're going to practice this chant. Some of you have the papers, some of you will be receiving the papers. What do we want? Safe lives. When do we want them? Right now. Ready? So what do we want? Safe lives. When do we want them? Right now. So that's what we're going to do. I would like to welcome Alexis Lowry. Alexis is a junior at St. Pius. She is active in her school, job, and community. Alexis is the daughter of Mary Daniels, who was killed in 2010 by her husband, which is the reason behind Mary's House of Hope. So please welcome Lexi Lowry.
Good evening. So we kind of got the intro over with. I'm Alexis, I'm 17. So we started Mary's House of Hope in 2011 after my mom was killed in 2010. And she was killed by my stepdad, who was her estranged husband. And she had lived with abuse for 2.5 of their 3-year relationship that no one knew about. The abuse ranged from verbal to physical and everything in between. My stepdad, Chris, belittled her in front of us and my little brother and never let us see him hit her because if we knew, we would tell. The abuse started small, and as time went on, it escalated. Eventually, it got so bad that he was pushing her face violently against a car window while driving or dragging her down our hill. My mom filed for divorce, and he couldn't take it. So as she was leaving her hospital where she worked, he attacked her as she was walking to her car, stabbing her a dozen of times. Right now, I could tell you the details of my mom's death and everything that followed and label her as a victim and be done. See, as society, we are all quick to label each other with one word. Whether it be the job we have, the parent we are, or who they know, it all brings someone down to one thing. Lots of people would mark my mom as a victim. She was abused, she was killed, and now her physical home is a cemetery. But let me be the one to tell you that my mom's relationship abuse may have been textbook, but she isn't just 1 in 3. Nor is any other person lost to domestic or sexual violence. Everyone has a story. My beautiful mother was born on October 3rd of 1979. She is one of 3 kids, right in the middle of 2 rowdy boys. As she grew up, my grandparents called her Grace because she was a total klutz. She danced in grade school and made plenty of friends, and as high school came along, she joined marching band, where she only marched and held her flute because she couldn't multitask at 16. My mom went to homecomings, football games, sleepovers, and proms. She lit up a room with her spunk and loved nothing more than having fun, and as any sister would, my mom drove her brothers crazy, using their toothbrush to comb her eyebrows or kicking them out of the house when her friends or boyfriends came over. My mom went to graduate high school and began college. Along the way, she met my dad and had me. She finished college and realized that he wasn't the one, and they became the best co-parenters I've ever seen. She worked in a hospital doing CAT scans and x-rays, and to this day, I don't know anyone who loved their job more. My mom could connect with each patient. She had a way about her that made you feel safe. As a daughter, I already knew that, and somehow it translated into her job. My mom was the best parent. She believed in me and loved me more than I thought humanly possible. We were best friends. We would dance around the kitchen while making dinner or pillow fight before bed, and my mom devoted herself to me because I was her #1 priority. My mom loved Wii bowling. She loved cooking spaghetti because that's the only thing she knew how. She wore green face masks. She was sincere, and her smile was contagious. She liked dogs and anything that had the color purple on it. My mom was, and still, is everything I strive to be as a woman and as a person. To me, her identity isn't the abuse she endured, the man she met, the bad relationship she was in, the restraining order she filed, or the casket she will lay in for the rest of time. My mom is everyone she loved. She's the endless episodes of Scrubs and the person who's #1 in my corner. Telling you her story isn't just telling you of the abuse. It's telling you who she was aside from the evil that reached her life. Every person who has ever experienced violence is a story outside of that. They aren't just headlines and they aren't just statistics. My hope tonight is that you, knowing the person behind the organization, you see she was just like you, a real, authentic person with feelings. I believe the more we connect with people, the more we are compelled to take action. We see how we can relate to each person. Maybe you're a parent, or you work at a hospital, or you have brothers. And somehow, some way, you're all connected to my mom. Realizing and seeing that is the first step in becoming an advocate and a safe haven for those battling abuse. You can relate to someone without experiencing their tragedies. Being here tonight signifies your first step in becoming an advocate. We are all here to shed light and give a voice to all those suffering in silence. My mom's story didn't end on August 3rd of 2010. Her light and her love live on in Mary's House of Hope project. Her dream was that I would always be happy and live a life full of joy and hope. And standing here, I'm doing just that. I challenge you all to live every day with hope and without fear, with the possibility of changing life. A new chapter of your story starts here. Thank you.
So let's rally, right? That's why we're here. We're here to prevent that from happening again. We know people. Sometimes we don't know what to say, but like Lexi said, just being there, providing that shoulder, a hot cup of coffee, sometimes that's what they need. We can't all solve every problem, but we can be present. So I encourage you guys to look around and do that for your fellow man. So what do we want?
Save lives.
When do we want it?
Right now.
What do we want?
Save lives.
When do we want it?
Right now.
What do we want?
Save lives.
When do we want it?
Right now.
Awesome. So our next speaker is the group Heroes in Action. Don't you love that? Right. How can you be a hero without the action behind it? So that's awesome. Their program objective is to teach safety, awareness, and assertive behavior at home, in schools, at work, and abroad. Their goal is to educate everyone, to create a safer environment so we can move forward in life in a more positive way. So, we welcome Heroes in Action. Come on up, Ray.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out on this lovely evening. My name is Ray Amanat. I'm the founder of Heroes in Action. We're a nonprofit organization, and I'm going to give you a little backstory about myself. People ask me, what do I do for a living? And in the past, I said, well, I teach martial arts. And I would always get, and they'd step away from me. Or, and I could never have a serious conversation with anyone with what my true passion is. So now when people ask me, what do? I say, I save lives. So it's kind of fitting. What do we do? Or what do we want? I'm here to teach you how to be safe. Growing up from elementary school through high school, I was the victim of bullying. Not just at school, but also at home. My parents were divorced. I have 3 brothers, and my mom at home was a bully. She was one of those overprotective moms that anything she saw on the news, a child got hit by a car while they were riding their bike. So guess what we didn't get to do anymore? Ride our bike, because she was afraid that, or we could ride our bike to the end of the driveway and back. That was it. So she was very overprotective, but also she was a person that compared me to my brothers. I was at a low point in my life where I said, I can't take this anymore. Generally with social media and everything that's going on right now, if I had it back then, I would not be standing here talking to you today, because I don't think I would have been strong enough. My parents were immigrants from Iran, and it was at a time where the Ayatollah overthrew the American, or overthrew the Iranian government, took their American hostages, and there was, I was at school, and the kids said, if your people are going to take our people, then we're going to take you. So they pretty much locked me in a room for 3 or 4 class hours, and I've been called anything and everything that you can think of that's not good with regards to my ethnicity or heritage. I approached my dad and I said, look, this is what's going on in my life. I don't know where to go to. I didn't have aunts or uncles or family members to run to, because I wanted to run away from home. I couldn't take it anymore. But there was nowhere for me to run to. I didn't have exposure to drugs. I didn't have exposure to alcohol. I didn't have exposure to gangs or violence. So those weren't options for me. I didn't think about those because I was never introduced to that. So I said, Dad, this is what's going on. Can you help me? And if you can't, you might not ever see me again. So he took me serious, and he got custody of me. And as soon as I moved in with my dad, the first thing I wanted to do was take karate lessons, martial arts, because I didn't want to be a victim anymore. I didn't want to be verbally abused or physically abused. I'm the author of this book, Bully, Victim, or Hero, which pretty much talks about how I was the victim. How many of you have seen the movie The Karate Kid? Raise your hand. Show hands. How many of you in that movie, okay, you have Miyagi, and then you have the Cobra Kai instructor, right? It says, show no mercy. Break his arm or his leg. The kind of martial arts instructors that I had were the Cobra Kai instructors. They weren't Miyagi. So they taught me how to be a really good bully. So I went from being the victim to, what are you looking at? Where I was looking for fights. I was looking to get in trouble. Once I got my black belt, and I ultimately took over the school, I was teaching kids the same way that I was taught. And I'd have parents come to me and say, Mr. Amanat, my child got suspended. I'm like, for what? And she was like, for doing what you taught him to do. And I'm like, oh. So I had to really rethink who I was and what type of a mentor or educator I want to be, which is where I came up with being the hero. So now I travel around the country and I teach people to be heroes for themselves or heroes for the people around them in their communities and their homes. Now I'm going to be asking for volunteers. Is there anyone that wants to come up? It's okay. It's safe. All right, come on up, dude. Stay right there. All right, he's fine. Now, from here, and I'm sure Mr. Stevenson touched on this a little bit in there, we have a distance. How many of you have ever heard of stay in your bubble or your personal space? To me, that's a gray area where everyone has comfort zones that you might allow me to be a little bit closer to you than other people. And some people, I might just, can you hear me? I should change batteries. Or some people might say, no, stay away from me. So from this distance, I'm going to walk towards you. I want you all to say stop when you don't want me any closer to him. Stop.
Stop.
No, all of you. Stop! All right, can I punch him?
No.
Can I kick him?
No.
From here?
Yeah.
Can I grab him?
No.
This is what I call a safe zone. So say stop again. Stop! Can I punch him? Can I kick him? Can I grab him? Is he safe?
Yes.
So this is what I call a safe zone.
Stop.
Can I punch him?
Yes.
Can I kick you?
If you don't.
Can I grab you right now? We're gonna get to that. If I take a step closer to him, can I touch him?
Yes.
Can I kick him?
Yes.
Can I grab him? Yes. So that's what I call a danger zone. So, talking to kids, you have a safe zone, you have a danger zone. It's a little bit easier than something that might be a gray area. Now, who's bigger, me or him?
You.
This event is about finding your voice, which I just lost. Yeah, I could use that. Okay, can you stand right here for me, please? Face me. Who's bigger, me or him? Who's stronger, me or him? Make a muscle, make a muscle, make a muscle. That's not bad, that's not bad. Who's got reach, me or him? Hold out your punch. Leave it there. So I've got size, strength, reach, but he doesn't. If he was in school, who would be the first adult that would help him get out of a bad situation? First adult. A teacher. Be a teacher. So stand behind him, you're a teacher. If the teacher needed help, who would the teacher call to get help? Be a principal. Yeah. Yeah. If the principal needs help, who comes after the principal? Some schools have an SRO or school resource officer. So who wants to be a school resource officer? Be a school resource officer. If if the school is in lockdown because there's a stranger or an intruder in the school, the school resource officer needs help, who gets called next? The police. Be the police. You're the popo. If the police needs help, who gets called next? Be SWAT. You're vocal. I'm going to bring you up. Okay. If SWAT needs help, who gets called next? FBI. You want to be FBI? All right, come on up. If the FBI needs help, who gets called next? No. National Guard. Who wants to be the National Guard? All right, you're the National Guard. Come on up there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm bigger than him. I'm stronger than him. I've got reach over him, but he has a teacher, a principal, school resource officer, the popo, SWAT, FBI, National Guard. He's got all those people behind him. Does that make me look big and bad or small and puny?
Small and puny. Smaller than a rat.
I love this kid. All right, but here's the thing. Those people can't help you if they can't hear you. They can't hear you. So if a stranger comes up and says, "Don't scream," they're scaring you to not want to say something. The bullies silenced me by calling me a mama's boy or a teacher's pet so that I wouldn't go home and say anything to my mom, or so that I wouldn't approach a teacher and say, "This is what's happening to me," because then the bullies would be right. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to approach and say, "This is what's going on to me." It's important. If somebody puts their hand over your mouth, it's because they don't want you to attract what? Okay, so from here, shake hands. Shake hands. Shake hands. Is this good or bad?
Good.
High five. Good or bad? Good or bad? Okay, that's bad. Give these guys a round of applause. Rich, stay up here with me. Thank you very much, buddy. You can sit down.
Put your hand on me one more time.
Go ahead and sit down.
Put your hand up. Grab it.
We're going to get to that. Okay, come here. So, when it comes to finding your voice, knowing what to say, Richard is going to grab my jacket. 2 hands. Mean. There you go. Now, if this was happening to a small child at school, what's the best thing a child can say to attract the attention of all the adults? Okay, do you know how many times a teacher hears the word help? I need help tying my shoes. I need help with my book bag. I need help opening the milk carton. I need help, help, help. Everybody repeat after me. Everybody say stop.
Stop.
Touching.
Touching.
Me.
Me.
There. So if a small child, this little girl here, were to say, stop touching me there, would that get your attention? Would that make most adults want to run to that child? I don't want to, how many of you have heard the phrase yell fire?
Yell fire.
Okay, if somebody were to yell fire, do they run to it or do they evacuate? So don't yell fire. Delete that off of your mind. You want to say, you want to find your voice, you want to say something that's going to make people want to run to you and not run away from you. Okay, make sense? All right, now for the adults, thank you, sir. Can I borrow you? I'm assuming you drive, correct? All right, come on over here. This is your car. Oh. Here's the keys to your car. Come on over here a second. Now, I want you to understand how important knowing what to say is, finding your voice, knowing how to get the right kind of attention. And there's a lot of scripts that you could use to get help. This is going to be a worst case scenario. In the event of a carjacking, you know, this is not a real firearm, it's a trading gun. You know, just for training, you know, anytime you deal with a firearm, you must always assume it's loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger. Never point it at anything you don't intend to. Know your target and what's behind, okay? For the sake of training, is it okay if I point this at you? Okay. You're not driving yet, you're out of the car. This is the 2 chairs of the car. Just stand right here. If I were to come up to her and say, give me the keys to your car, that means I want what? I want the car. If I say, get in the car, that means I want what? Okay? So what would you do if I were to say, get in the car? Get in the car. Sit down, move over. Give me the keys. Put your seatbelt on. I'm a safe driver. Did she do the right thing? No. Get out of the car. Okay, you're the bad guy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is what I'm going to call crime scene A. Crime scene A is where the crime starts. Crime scene B is where this person takes me. What are my chances of surviving? Crime scene C is when they find my body and I have to go to the morgue and my family has to say, yes, that's my son, that's my daughter, that's my husband, that's my wife. Stay out of crime scene B and C, stay in crime scene A, your chance of survival goes up. You're gonna say, get in the car. You gotta say it like you mean, get in the car!
Get in the car!
You forgot. Okay, now, if I stand here and try to fight her, what are the chances of this being a fatal shot? Pretty high, okay? First thing I do is I toss the keys, and when I toss them real far, okay? Second thing I do is I run. Where do I want to run to? I want to run to where there's people. I want to run to the herd. I want to find cover. Everybody say soft cover. Soft cover. Say solid cover. Solid cover. What's better, me hiding behind drywall or brick wall? Brick wall. Okay, solid cover versus soft cover. A tree or bushes? Tree. Car door or the front end of a car? So I want to run and hide behind something. Now, if I'm running, what are the chances of this being a fatal shot?
Less.
Percentage is actually 20%, so I've got an 80% chance to survive. I'm running to people that have cell phones. I'm running to people that can help me. So I toss the keys, right? I run. Now, what do I yell to get people to want to help me?
Help.
They got a gun.
All right, let me say this way. I'm driving down, you are driving down the street. You see two grown men fighting. How many of you would stop, get out, and say, guys, break it up, stop fighting? Raise your hand if you would do that physically. Okay. One person. You have what we call watchdogs and sheepdogs. Watchdogs are what protect the herd. Police officers, teachers, parents, security guards. Or sheepdogs are what protect the herd. Watchdogs are, you see somebody break into your neighbor's house. Are you going to go, cool? Or are you going to call 911? Cool. So you're a watchdog calling the sheepdog to take care of the wolf, the bad guy, the criminal. That's why we have neighborhood watch. You guys are watchdogs. I toss the keys, I'm running. Now, you're driving and you see a husband and wife fighting, boyfriend and girlfriend, or a potential sexual assault going on. How many of you would get out of the car and physically try to help that woman? Raise your hand. Okay, we got some more hands coming. So we got more sheepdogs. How many of you would at least call 911? So we got a lot of watchdogs, that's good. Everyone should at least be a watchdog. You're driving down the street and you see a grown adult pounding on a small 4 or 5-year-old child. How many of you, I didn't mean to scare you. How many of you would help that child? Physically, raise your hand. So more people are willing to help a child than there are a female or male adult, yes or no? So when I'm running, I'm yelling, he's got a gun, they've got my child. Because more people are willing to help a what? Child. If she was missing, would there be an Amber Alert? Yes. If you were missing, would there be an Amber Alert? No, you could be on vacation for all we know. Okay? So even if I don't have kids, I want to say, somebody help, they're hurting my child, they've got my child. Because I know more people are going to run to help me than if I were to yell help or rape or fire. Does that make sense? Here's another reason come to my head. You don't want to yell fire. That's a joke. Oh, my keys. All right, let's try this again real quick. Hello. Hello. Man. I want to see if you learned anything. Don't throw the keys at somebody. Just kind of throw them to the floor. Get in the car! Did she say anything to attract attention? They've got my child? Let's try it again. He's got a gun. He's got my child. Get in the car. Okay, as you can see, even when we're training, is it easy? No, it's hard. Come on over. And it takes, just like anything that you learn, it takes repetition and practice. If you were to play the piano for 300 hours, how good would you be? You could sit down, thank you. If you were to train for 300 hours dealing with violence, dealing with abuse, to where you know what to say and you know what to do, would you have the confidence to know how to deal with that? You know, I can take 20 minutes and give you a lot of information, but it's training. You have to come out and do it. Now, how am I doing on time? 5 more minutes? Okay, I'm gonna leave you with a story. It's story time, boys and girls. I was at a school doing a presentation, and in the school there's a child that was in a wheelchair. Now I have a big banner that says bully, victim, or hero. Do you guys want to be bullies? No. Do you want to be victims? No. Do you want to be afraid or fearless? Fearless. In order for you to be a hero, you have to be fearless sometimes, because you're standing up to the person that is wanting to harm you or hurt you. I wanted to role play with the child that was in the wheelchair, because I had brought up a lot of other volunteers, and so this child is here, and I started bullying the kid in the wheelchair, just making fun of him, teasing him. What do you think the other kids did?
Wow, not mad.
They laughed. They started making the same noises and same mocking my way of abusing them. Did they become a part of the problem or a part of the solution? You know, we're here to be a community that becomes a part of the solution, where we have a message and we want to share that message so that people know that you don't have to be a victim. You can stand up for yourself, or you can stand up for someone else. I stopped everything I was doing and I looked at these kids and I said, you know, I'm disappointed. Here you have a kid in a wheelchair. He had cerebral palsy. He didn't have use of his legs. He didn't have use of his arms. And he was nonverbal, so he couldn't speak. He couldn't move into what zone? A safe zone. He couldn't use his hands to protect himself if I wanted to hit him. And he couldn't say, stop hurting me, stop touching me there. Leave me alone. He didn't have a script. But all the other kids in the audience, you've got 2 good legs, 2 good arms, and voices that could sing. But instead of being a part of the problem, you guys are a part of the solution. You guys are a part of the problem. So I went back to teasing this kid. I said, take 2, let's try it again. Second time I went teasing this kid, what do you think the kids did? They got up behind him. They said, leave him alone. He can't do anything to you. Quit messing with him. They went and they got the teacher, and we role played, and I got in trouble, and everything was happy. But that wasn't the best part of the story. The child in the wheelchair. When all the kids came up and helped him, he had the biggest smile on his face. Because for the first time, kids that would never give him the time of day, say hi or bye or anything else, they stood up for him. I got a phone call 2 weeks later from the school principal, and she's like, Ray, you don't know, you have no idea what happened. And I'm expecting the worst. Oh my gosh, they're picking on the kid again. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And she said that the kids are wanting to be heroes. They're walking him to his class. They're helping him with his homework. They're helping him eat his lunch. So we all have choices in life. We could walk around and have a target on our backs. You could either be an easy target or a tough target, and you could become a victim. Or we can be aggressive, and we can be the bullies or the criminals. Or you can rise and become heroes. That's a choice. It's your actions, like you had said, that defines you. You know, Heroes in Action is about teaching people to know what to say, to know what to do, so that you can be a hero for yourself, or you can be a hero for someone that doesn't have any training, doesn't know what to say or do. So we have a choice. We're here for a reason, to learn, and if you'd like to learn more, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is a wonderful event, and I hope it grows and helps other communities. So thank you.
So how was that? Awesome. Awesome. So I've apparently misplaced my little stack of chants, so we'll work that out in a second. So we started off with that phrase, me too. And so I'm going to make a few statements, and if it applies to you, after I say it, feel free to say, me too. I want someone who loves me for me. I want someone who respects me. I want someone who can understand my boundaries. I don't want those phone calls at night about a loved one who's been hurt.
Me too.
I don't want to be the one that finds out that we've lost a loved one because of violence. You guys have stood up tonight, so we're going to ask you to do one more thing. We have an amazing new renovated library, so we're going to take a stroll around our library. You will notice some very pitiful looking balloons and some very strong-willed balloons that have made their way through the day. And so we're going to enjoy the beautiful night. We're going to do some chants. We're going to do some hugs. There may be some tears, but we're going to take a walk to take back our night.